The book, Quran and Universe, explores the references to the creation of the universe in the Quran. Unlike the Old Testament, the Quran does not provide a continuous and complete account of the creation, but rather presents scattered fragments in a large number of chapters. The author has analyzed over 300 Quranic quotations that refer directly to the creation of the universe, and the most important ones are reflected upon in this book. It's important to note that the Quran is not a book of science, but there are many scientific facts and verses that lead people to read and analyze it. In this book, an attempt is made to give the true meaning of each Quranic quote and to connect the modern aspects of science with the traditional way of interpreting the Quran. The book also delves into topics such as the size and composition of the universe, celestial bodies, cosmic laws and forces, and the end of the world. The author has used the works of many authors, including Mustafa Mlivo, Ahmed Sharif, Zindani, M. Baike, and others, as well as their views and thoughts on certain topics. However, independent criticism is also presented in the book. The author's wife, with her experience in the field of natural sciences, provided criticism in the understanding of astronomical terms and their classification. The book also includes the opinions and thoughts of many authors and experts in the field of science and religion. The author emphasizes the importance of precision in expression, both terminologically, mathematically, and theologically, to act as Allah commands in the Quran. The book aims to encourage people to think about space and cosmic events and to deepen their understanding of the Quran and its teachings. Overall, Quran and Universe is a thought-provoking book that encourages readers to think about space and cosmic events, while providing a deeper understanding of the Quranic references to the creation of the universe. Quran and the Universe. Skopje. Many thanks to my parents, especially my mother, who from a young age guided me to seek the truth and science, and to all the friends who unreservedly helped me for this book, including my wife, and all other valuable friends who selflessly advocated and sought funding for its publication. May this be a precious gift for my kids and future generations. Timirlink Chekovich. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, most merciful. We will show them our signs in the universe and within themselves until it becomes clear to them that this Quran is the truth. Is it not enough that your Lord is a witness over all things? Fussilat 41:53. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful Allah. Unlike the Old Testament, the Quran does not provide a continuous and complete account of the creation. Instead of a continuous story, in many places in the book there are some aspects of creation that are evoked, and more or less, the subsequent events that marked it. To get a clearer picture of how the latter are given, we need to collect the fragments scattered in a large number of chapters. The Quran deals with many important topics that scientists are interested in, whether they are earthly or celestial phenomena or issues that concern humans. Quotations from the Quran are given for each of these topics. There are a number of quotes that speak of scientific phenomena, and their number is over 1,000. In this book we analyzed more than 300 quotations that refer directly to the creation of universe, but due to the volume, the most important ones will be reflected upon. In addition to the citations that specifically describe creation, 40 other citations provide data that are complete with the data listed here. Some of them are merely reflections on the glory of the creator and organizer of all stellar and planetary systems. We are all aware to be in equilibrium explained by means of the Newton law of mutual attraction of bodies. Allah, Arabic, Allah, is the Arabic word for God, al-Ilah, literally the God. The word has cognates in other Semitic languages, including Allah in Aramaic, El in Canaanite and Elohim in Hebrew. It is used mainly by Muslims to refer to God in Islam, but it has also been used by Arab Christians since pre-Islamic times. L. Gardet, Allah, Encyclopedia of Islam, Lewis, Bernard, Holt, P. M., Holt, Peter R., Lambton, and Catherine Swinford, 1977. The Cambridge History of Islam. In order to fully understand that sequence and the presentation that the Quran offers us, we will let the Quran itself say its own story. To this end, Every quote from the Quran concerning the heavens or the universe has been specially processed, and an attempt has been made to give its true meaning and to connect the modern aspects of science with the traditional way of interpreting the Quran. At the same time, in this book, an interrelation has been made, which we will try to bring to the reader at hand, to the depth and importance the Quran offers us. The chapters and thematic that are processed are: 1. The creation of the universe and its progress. 2. The size and composition of the universe. 3. Celestial bodies. 4. The earth and its phenomena. 5. Cosmic laws and forces. 6. Conquest of the universe. 7. End of the world. In the compilation of this work are used works of many authors such as Mustafa Mlivo, Ahmed Sharif, Zindani, M. Baike and others, as well as their views and thoughts on certain topics. As might be expected, for a work to be complete, independent criticism is needed. Opinion found in certain derived interpretations have been criticized by the theologian Ali Shabani, especially because of the theological untenability of the interpretation related to the number 7, which many authors ignore. Pointing out certain events in space that are evoked in the Quran requires a thorough knowledge of the Arabic language. Great help in arranging the text came from my wife. With her experience in the field of natural sciences, she also introduced criticism in the understanding of astronomical terms and their classification. Especially interesting was the statement of the independent astronomical researcher and now well-known young Macedonian writer, Branko Prolja, who pointed out to me that this book is full of topics, but that it is worth giving more accurate information about universe in one place, which will encourage people to think about space and cosmic events. The terminological, mathematical and theological precision in expression was imperative for my co-workers, and therefore I took it into account in order to act as Allah commands in the Quran, and Allah knows what you do. Al-Mujadala, 58:11. But if there is a mistake, I ask Almighty Allah to be of those who, out of ignorance, do evil deeds, and then repent and make amends. Your Lord will surely forgive them and be merciful. An-Nahl, 119. Tamerlank Chekovich. Skopje, 2021. Introduction. In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The Quran does not start this way and is therefore different from all other religious scriptures. If you read some religious scriptures you will notice that they contain a typical human style. They speak of a certain person, his life, his family, etc. The context follows, chapter 1, then 2, 3, and so on. The Quran also talks about the lives of some people, but not in human manner. The Quran has its unique style and is a unique book. Allah says in the Quran, "Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth and the alternation of the night and the day are signs for those of understanding, who remember Allah while standing or sitting or lying on their sides and give thought to the creation of the heavens and the earth." These quotations from the Quran speak of the greatness and importance of human beings and the connection between the macrocosm and the microcosm. Almighty Allah points out the complexity of each system, the importance of each organism, and the structure on which all creation rests. A whole series of quotes beautifully explains this creation. And among his signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the difference of your tongues and colors. Surely in this there are signs for the persons having knowledge. Arum, 30:22. And he is the one who begins creation, thereafter he brings it back again, and it is most simple for him. And he has the most exalted similitude in the heavens and the earth, and he is the ever-mighty, the ever-wise. Arum, 30:27. Creation and resurrection of all of you is no more, to Allah, than that of one single person. Surely, Allah is all-hearing, all-seeing. Luqman, 31:28. Destroying and taking away an innocent human life is like killing all people. Allah says, interpretation of the meaning: whoever kills a person not in retaliation for a person killed, nor as a punishment for spreading disorder on the earth, is as if he has killed the whole of humankind, and whoever saves the life of a person is as if he has saved the life of the whole of humankind. Certainly, our messengers have come to them with clear signs. Then, after all that, many of them are there to commit excesses on the earth. Al-Maida, 532. One God points the power of creation and the harm of destroying only one innocent being. In fact, the complexity of one person is similar to the complexity of the entire universe. And if all trees that are on the earth were to be pens, and the ocean converted into ink, is supported by 7 seas following it, the words of Allah would not come to an end. Surely, Allah is mighty, wise. Luqman, 31:27. The Exalted said to us that He is indeed the mighty, the wise. This means that Allah has strengthened everything, subdued it, and created all things wisely. We see that wisdom through science and knowledge. 1.2 The first creation. He creates from nothing and will do it again. El-Buraj, 1813. And it is He who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and His throne had been upon water, that He might test you as to which of you is best indeed. But if you say, indeed, you are resurrected after death, those who disbelieve will surely say, this is naught but obvious magic. Hud, 11:7. The Quran describes that Allah made from water every living thing. 21:30. Another verse describes how Allah has created every animal from water. Of them are some that creep on their bellies, some that walk on 2 legs, and some that walk on 4. Allah creates what He wills, for truly Allah has power over all things. 2400 hours 45. These verses also support the scientific theory that life began in the earth's oceans. It is narrated that the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when a group of people from Yemen came to him and said, "We have come to ask you about the beginning of this world," he replied, Allah was existing when nothing was before Him. In other versions of the hadith states, there was nothing but Him. His throne was on the water. And then He created the heavens and the earth. Do not those who do not believe that the heavens and the earth were one, see that we have torn them apart, and that we create everything from water? Will they not believe? Al-Anbiya, 21:30. Water is the basis of all living things. Ahmed notes from Abu Huraira that the Prophet, a.s., said, everything is created from water. 1.2.1 Most distant water. The Quran informs us about this great fact that modern physics came up with 1,400 years ago, and Allah Jalla Shanuhu explains it to us in more detail. And that we create everything from water? Will they not believe? Al-Anbiya, 21:30. There are some recent scientific studies that indicate that water was existing from the beginning of the creation of galaxies and the universe itself. Apart from the creation of the living world, in this quote we learn about the creation of the universe, so we can conclude that it played a huge role in the early stages of the universe. Astronomers have found traces of water molecules in a galaxy more than 11 billion light-years from Earth. Using the giant 100-meter diameter radio telescope in Effelsberg, Germany, along with the Wurge Large Eris, VLA, in New Mexico, the farthest water in the universe was observed. Previously, the most distant water was seen in a galaxy less than 7 billion light-years from Earth. Because it is so far away, we see it as it was a long time ago, when the universe was 1/6 of the age it is now. Astronomers have used 2 types of natural amplifications to detect water in this galaxy. The galaxy, called MGJ 0414+0534, contains a quasar in the core. In the region around the center, water molecules act as masers, the laser equivalent of lasers, to amplify radio waves with a specific frequency. In addition, another galaxy serves as a gravitational lens to amplify the radio signals used to detect water molecules. Astronomers believe that their discovery suggests that such giant water masers were more prevalent in the early universe than they are today. Given the distance of the galaxy, even amplifiers from radio waves with the help of masers would not be enough to detect waves with the help of radio telescopes. Therefore, with the help of another galaxy that serves as a gravitational lens, almost 8 billion light-years away, located directly on the line of sight of the galaxy MGJ 0414+0534 to Earth, the signal from the distant object is further amplified and the emission of molecules from water to become visible to radio telescopes. Water signals were first observed with the Effelsberg telescope. The VLA was then used to give a sharper picture to confirm that the signals were indeed coming from a distant galaxy. The gravitational lens gives not one, but 4 images of MGJ0414 plus 0534, looking from the Earth. Using the VLA, the specific frequency attributed to the water masseurs was found in the 2 brightest of the 4 images produced by the gravitational lens. The radio frequency emitted by water molecules is subject to Doppler displacement as a result of the expansion of the universe from 22.2 GHz to 6.1 GHz. Water masseurs have been found in several galaxies closer to Earth. They are thought to form in disks of molecules orbiting supermassive black holes in the galaxy's core. Intensified radio emission is much more commonly observed when orbiting disks are close to the edge. But astronomers said that MGJ0414 plus 0534 is oriented so that the disk is almost facing the Earth. It is also important to note not wearied by their creation, does have the power to give life to the dead? Yes, of course, he is powerful to do everything. Al-Akaf, 46:33. Contrary to the sermons that God rested on the 7th day, Allah, the Exalted, says that God does not weaken and never rests. His creation is constant. Today we are witnessing the birth of new stars and new galaxies. He creates from nothing, and will do it again. L. Burridge, 85:13. The discovery of the expansion of space implies that the universe must have had an initial starting point of creation. This is a point in the past when the radius of space was 0. This means that matter had to be compacted in one space and with one energy, and this moment of creation is marked as Big Bang nucleosynthesis. More direct results of the expansion, such as change of redshift, distance, flux, angular position and the angular size of astronomical objects, have not been detected yet due to smallness of these effects. Size and composition of the universe. 2.1 Lord of the Worlds. Praise be to Allah, the Lord of the Worlds. Al-Fatiha, 1:2. Ibn Qasr tells us that the word Lord of the Worlds is characteristic only for Allah, the creator of all that exists. The word worlds means everything that exists and everything that is created, except Allah, the Exalted, who is not created, and who has no beginning but is from the primordial. In Arabic, it is a collective noun that has no pure singular. Worlds are a kind of creatures and beings in heaven and on earth, on land and at sea. In that sense, people are a world to themselves, jinns are a world to themselves, angels are a world to themselves. Here is the opinion of Ibn Abbas, who says, "Praise be to Allah, to whom belongs all that is created, in heaven and on earth, in them and between them, everything we know and do not know." Mentioning this, we should say that no one expects another Earth to be discovered in the solar system. However, scientists say that it is quite certain that there are many Earths outside our solar system in our galaxy. They say that about 50 billion stars rotate in our galaxy that resembles our Sunday. This indicates that all these suns are potential systems similar to ours. Bernard star is believed to have at least one planet to follow. This is the latest discovery that applies to at least 200 stars in our galaxy. If you open the Quran, you will see that Allah informs us of many worlds. Namely the world of plants, the world of bacteria, the spiritual world, the physical world. Is it possible here that Allah is the one who created 7 heavens and as many earths, Ard? At Talak, 65:12, let us think of more systems like ours. We should all stay open-minded and informed for more possibilities in the future. 2.1.1 The universe is a proof. They are those who remember Allah while standing, sitting, and lying on their sides, and reflect on the creation of the heavens and the earth and pray, "Our Lord, you have not created all of this without purpose. Glory be to you. Protect us from the torment of the fire." Ali Imran, 3:191. From these verses, we conclude that Allah says that in the vastness of the earth and the sky, the macrocosm, in the density of matter and the microcosm, in the movable and immovable objects, in the planets, cosmic bodies, and stars, as well as in all kinds of plants and animals, in the elements of the universe, the diversity of colors and smells and the change of night and day with clearly defined laws and limits and duration, all this is a provision of the mighty and the knowing. All this is proof for the one who with his reason, sharpened mind, and complete understanding enters the essence of things, and for those who understand the intelligence of their creation, which is indicated by the greatness of their Creator, His choice, and His mercy. Everything except His face will disappear. Everything except His face will fail. If Allah were to hasten evil for people as they wish to hasten good, they would have certainly been doomed. But we leave those who do not expect to meet us to wander blindly in their defiance. Yunus 10:101. The seven heavens, the earth, and all those in them glorify Him. There is not a single thing that does not glorify His praises, but you simply cannot comprehend their glorification. He is indeed most forbearing, all-forgiving. Al-Isra 1744. In everything, there is a sign that indicates that He is one. Tabarani reports that the Prophet A.S. after returning from his ascension on the night of Miraj, has said, "I heard the praise of Allah in the high heavens." With that great glorification, the heavens also glorified Him out of awe and a feeling of weakness towards His great exaltation. Glory be to the greatest, glory be to Him and be exalted. The Almighty says, "And there is nothing that does not glorify Him, praising Him, i.e. every creature glorifies Allah, giving thanks to Him. But you do not understand their glorification, i.e. because their language is different from yours. This is common to wildlife, flora, and fauna. They glorify Allah in their special way which most of us don't understand." 2.2 The size of the universe. Allah. There is no God worthy of worship except Him, the ever-living, all-sustaining. Neither drowsiness nor sleep overtakes Him. To Him belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth. Who could possibly intercede with Him without His permission? He fully knows what is ahead of them and what is behind them, but no one can grasp any of His knowledge except what He wills to reveal. His seat encompasses the heavens and the earth, and the preservation of both does not tire Him. For He is the highest, the greatest. 255. The part of the universe that can be seen or examined is usually called the visible universe. Because the expansion of the universe is much larger than its ultimate observational reach, cosmologists find it impossible to track its expansion. In the terminology of physical cosmology, the universe is considered to be the finite or infinite spacetime in which all matter and energy are situated. Some scientists support the theory that the universe is part of many other universes. Ibn Qasir, in addition to describing the attributes of Allah, states that to Him belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth. This means that everything that exists is under His control and administration, which emphasizes that everything in the universe is perfectly controlled and is under His control and nothing is accidental. And everything that is of matter, energy, visible and invisible, has its own task and obeys the laws set by the Highest, whether they like it or not. His seat, throne, encompasses the heavens and the earth, and the preservation of both does not tire Him. Ibn Abbas says, "If 7 heavens and 7 earths touched each other, they would be like a ring in the vast desert of the pedestal," while Abu Dair adds, "A pedestal compared to the throne of Allah is like a ring between 2 deserts on earth. And it is not difficult for Him to maintain and control them. So, it is easy for Allah to guide and maintain them." The disbelievers they say, Allah has got a son. Pure is He. Instead, to Him belongs all that there is in the heavens and the earth. All stand obedient to Him. Al-Baqarah 2:116. The Quran depicts the angels as carrying the throne of God and praising His glory, similar to Old Testament images. Those who bear the throne, and all who are round about it, sing the praises of their Lord and believe in Him and ask forgiveness for those who believe. Quran 40:7. Today, every person who thinks at least a little about creation, comes to the conclusion that the Creator cannot in any way be compared to creation. This is evident from the size of the universe, which indicates an even greater and insurmountable dimension of the Lord of all that exists. The previous quote shows God's power and greatness. The universe begins to expand at certain points in the past. That spread had to start from conditions in which the density of matter was very high. In the initial moment of this phase of expansion, a process of kinetic matter started from some levels that we still notice today. We call this process the Big Bang. Some theories suggest that the Big Bang occurred about 13,700,000,000 years ago. Another important feature of the universe is its elemental composition. Huge experimental material testifies that the mass of space is composed of 70% hydrogen, 29% helium, and only about 1% of all other elements together. Looking at the future of the universe, we are actually looking at the past. Say, whether you conceal what is in your hearts or reveal it, Allah will know it. He knows what is in the heavens and what is in the earth. Allah is powerful over everything. Ali Imran 3:29. No thought, no atom, nothing visible or invisible, no secret is hidden from Allah. Neither the microcosm nor the macrocosm. No leaf falls without His knowledge, and no thought will be hidden on the day of judgment. No good thought will remain, and there will be no reward for it, while no bad thought will be held accountable if it is not translated into action. Are they, then, seeking a religion other than that of Allah, while to Him alone submit all those in the heavens and the earth, willingly or unwilling, and to Him they shall be returned? Ali Imran 3 hours 83 minutes. Obedience is seen in the fact that everything is under His control and everything moves to a certain deadline and under a certain law specific to a certain creature. Only man has his own specific law of conduct, and that is the reason, but he does not submit in the way that Allah deserves. The choice left to him is a difficulty for the disobedient and mercy and salvation to the obedient servants of God. If one person obeyed the majority of people, one would surely go astray, because most people follow untruths. Everything that is alive and inanimate is obeyed and submitted to Allah. All matter, even every atom, acts according to set limits and laws, set by the Almighty Master. To Allah belongs what is in the heavens and what is in the earth. He forgives whomsoever He wills and punishes whomsoever He wills. Allah is most forgiving, very merciful. Ali Imran 3:129. To Allah belongs everything. Allah has created everything, and Allah knows best who deserves punishment or blessing, and what role he has in this world. And man has limited knowledge of this world. 2.2.1 Paradise. And seek forgiveness from your Lord and a garden as vast as the heavens and the earth, prepared for those who fear Allah. Ali Imran 3:133. According to Ibn Kasir, this verse indicates the size of paradise, that is, how vast this whole universe is. The external appearance of paradise is in the shape of a dome or sphere under the throne of Allah, the Exalted. It is in a rounded shape, which is indicated by the hadith of Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who said, when you pray to Allah for paradise, seek the Firdaus, for it is the highest middle part of paradise, where the rivers spring and whose roof is the throne of Allah, the Merciful. Ahmed's narration states that Heracles wrote a letter to the Prophet, A.S., in which he said, "You are calling me to a paradise the size of the heavens and the earth, so where is the fire, hell, at this moment?" The Prophet replied, "Praise be to Allah, so where is the night when the day comes?" Abu Huraira also narrates that a man went to the Messenger of Allah, and said to him, "What do you think of the words of Allah, the Exalted, a paradise as wide as the heavens and the earth, where is then the paradise? Or the fire?" He, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, said, "Do you not see that the night when it covers everything? Where then is the day, son?" It is where Allah will, and the fact that each angel is made of light, it becomes a little clearer to us what size it is. It is also stated that the distance between Arsh and the seventh earth is 50,000 years. What is this seventh earth we will explain a little further when we talk about the seven earths. Some representatives of Ilmul Kalam believe that the Arsh is round in shape and that it surrounds the world, and that is why they also call it the ninth sphere or the sphere of the Atlas. So according to them, after the seven spherical heavens comes paradise, which has hundreds of degrees, and between every 2 degrees, there is a distance like it is between heaven and earth, after which the throne is located. We will also mention kursi, pedestal, about which Allah, in Surah Al-Baqarah 255 verse says, "His pedestal covers both the heavens and the earth, and it is not difficult for him to maintain them." Al-Baqarah 2:255. For which interpretation Ibn Abbas and Sa'id ibn Jubair said that it means, that is his knowledge. Ibn Abbas has said, the footsteps are his footsteps, and the size of the throne is known only to Allah. Ibn Jarir reports, the 7 heavens compared to kursi are like the 7 coins thrown into the desert. Ibn Jarir in his book History also reports that, regarding the words of the Almighty, and his throne was on the water, Ibn Abbas was asked, this water is on the wings of the wind, and the heavens and the earth and all of that, is on them, and are surrounded by seas, and all this is surrounded by a huge edifice, and that edifice surrounds kursi. Webb interpreted this huge building as the ends of the universe that surround the earth and the seas like a huge tent. Some argue that the term kursi refers to the 8th sphere, which is also called the sphere of permanent stars. What remains to be agreed, and what most scholars agree on, is that the size of the 7 heavens is unimaginably huge and that each sky is larger than the other. Then comes the kursi or the pedestal of the merciful, which is significantly larger than 7 the heavens altogether. After kursi comes Arshul Rahman, throne of the merciful, whose size is unimaginably larger than the heavens and kursi together. Above the Arsh is Allah the Exalted, who says, "This is Allah, your Lord, there is no God but He, the Creator of everything, so, worship Him. He is guardian over everything. No vision can comprehend Him, and He comprehends all visions, and He is subtle, all-aware." Al-An'am 102-103. No one can imagine or describe Him. He is unlike anything. 2.2.2 Eternity. As for those who are blessed, they shall be in paradise living there forever, as long as the heavens and the earth remain intact, unless your Lord wills, otherwise, it will be an award never to be ceased. Hud 11:108. Ibn Kathir and Imam Abu Ja'far ibn Jarir says, giving will be unlimited, unless Allah decides otherwise. Your Lord is indeed wise and omniscient. Al-An'am 6:128. Commentators on the Quran differ on the subject of exemption. Ibn Jarir prefers the opinion that this refers to the sinners who believe in the one God, who will be taken for doing great sins, and then will come the mercy of the Most Merciful, who will bring them out of hell, and even if they have not done any good deed, but at least once they said, "There is no God but Allah." After that, many will stay forever in hell. This opinion is represented by a number of the first and later scholars. Es Sudi says that this verse is derogated from the one in which they will abide forever and ever, An-Nisa 4:169. The same is for the people of paradise, and it is a favor from Allah to His slaves, as well as a punishment for the disobedient. Therefore, Allah, the Exalted, says, "Your Lord does what He wills," Hud 11:107, and He is not questioned about what He does, but they will be questioned. Al-Anbiya 21:23. The vastness of the universe and the processes that take place indicate that eternity is a well-known concept and activity that is deeply rooted in the rootstock of our intellect and knowledge of things. Although in everyday life eternity often means timeless existence, many use this term to denote existence beyond time. Beyond time means infinite space at here nothing changes or even ages. There is no time outside time dimensions. There are numerous discussions about eternity, with proponents of this concept, mainly Aristotle, proving that matter, motion, and time exist forever. Eternal existence is a concept of God as creator, because He is completely independent of everything that exists, because He is the creator of everything, as opposed to pantheism and paganism. It follows that God is unconstrained of both time and space, which are characteristics of the universe. God existed before time began, exists in all moments of time, and will continue to exist if in some way the universe and time cease to exist. Mathematics refers to the term infinity, but does not define it. Infinity represents something that is boundless or endless, something that is larger than any real or natural number. The ancient Indians and Greeks did not define infinity in precise formalism as does modern mathematics, and instead engage in conversation of infinity as a philosophical concept. 2.3 The atom in the Quran. There is no activity you may be engaged in, O Prophet, or portion of the Quran you may be reciting, nor any deed you all may be doing except that we are a witness over you while doing it. Not even an atom's weight is hidden from your Lord on earth or in heaven. Nor anything smaller or larger than that, but is written in a perfect record. Yunus, 10 hours 61 minutes, from the time of the ancient Greek philosophers, people have been thinking about what and how matter is made of. There were two groups of philosophers, one of whom believed that matter could be infinitely divided into smaller particles, and the other that there were tiny particles of substance that could not be further divided. Nuclear fusion. As a result of this explosion, meteors, which contain iron, are scattered through space and float in space until they collide with a celestial body, or enter under the influence of its gravity. As can be clearly deduced from the above, the element iron did not form on Earth, but by means of a meteor conveyance, was sent to Earth from a supernova in the same way as mentioned in the Quran. It is quite clear that this was scientifically impossible to discover in the 7th century, when the Quran was published. This fact, however, is found in the Quran, which is another in a series of proofs that it is a word from Allah. In addition, the 25th verse of Surah Al-Hadid, iron, in Arabic, which speaks of iron, contains two very interesting mathematical codes. Al-Hadid is 57 surahs of the Quran. When we calculate the numerical value of the word Al-Hadid, the same number will appear before us, 57. The numerical value of the word Hadid, without a definite article, al, is 26. The number 26 is the atomic number of iron. 3.3 Stellar formations. I swear by the sky, the one having stellar formations, Al-Burj. 85, 1. But what about those areas that are not so peaceful? What would the sky look like if we found ourselves on a planet orbiting a star, which is part of a closed star cluster? Will we feel the beauties of the night and the dark sky in such a place? Here are some numbers that will capture the exoticism of the image. The region around the core of a typically closed star cluster has about 100,000 stars in a volume of space with a radius of about 10 parsecs. This does not lead to a sphere with a volume of about 4,000 cubic pars, or about 25 stars per cubic pars, which means that the average distance between these stars is about 1/3 pars. The stars in closed clusters are mostly evolved giants, with a luminosity that is up to 100 times greater than that of the Sun, so at a distance of 10 parsecs such a star would have an apparent magnitude close to 0, and at 1/3 parsec, the luminosity would be 6, magnitude equal to that of Venus or Jupiter in their greatest luminosity. There would be dozens of such stars, as bright as Venus, anywhere in the sky. The most distant stars would be 10 parsecs, and there would be several thousand of them, each with an apparent magnitude of about 0, so the sky would be filled with 100,000 stars brighter than Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, and some of them would be as bright as Venus. We can divide the sky into 42,000 square degrees, where on an area as large as the full moon, 0.5 degrees, there would be one such bright star. It will be really difficult to notice the faint stars with the naked eye, because our eyes would be constantly filled with the light of the many red giants. This would definitely not be the place for an astronomer who would like to sleep at least one night. However, I do not know anyone who would be bothered by an interstellar trip in order to admire such a sight. 3. Celestial bodies. 3.4 Black hole. And when the sky is torn apart, Al-Mursalat, 77, 9. A black hole is an area in space, time from which nothing can escape. Not even light. It is not possible to see a black hole directly because even light cannot be saved from it. That is the main reason why they are called black holes. But there are good reasons to believe that they exist, because in 2019 astronomers have taken the first ever image of a black hole, which is located in a distant galaxy. It measures 40 billion kilometers across, 3 million times the size of the Earth, and has been described by scientists as a monster. The black hole is 500 million trillion km away and was photographed by a network of 8 telescopes across the world. Details have been published in astrophysical journal letters. It was captured by the Event Horizon Telescope, EHT, a network of 8 linked telescopes. Black holes represent the last step in the evolution of a star that is about 10 to 15 times larger than our Sun. When the star runs out of fuel, it will explode in the supernova. Most of the star's matter is blown up by a supernova explosion, forming a nebula such as Orion, and what remains will be a neutron star or, in the event of a larger star, more than 4 solar masses, turn into a black hole. In a neutron star, matter is in a condition known as neutron degenerative state, which is mostly contained in the nucleus. In the black hole, matter is in a state that is not yet known. Explosive materials that contain heavy metals are then included in the cycle of new star formation. These heavy elements enable the creation of rocky planets. Supernova outbursts and stellar winds play a very important role in shaping the interstellar element. Let's see what really happens. Imagine throwing a tennis ball in the air. The harder we throw, the faster it will travel and the higher it will go up. If we throw it hard enough, and never come back, then gravity was not strong enough to pull it down. The speed of the ball must be 11.2 km/s, known as the release speed, and this value only applies to the Earth. As the body shrinks in volume, and its mass remains the same, it creates greater gravitational forces. With that, the value of the escape speed becomes bigger and bigger. Things should be thrown up with more force to escape gravity. This is how black holes work. They have a mass as large as a few suns. In this way they create a huge gravity, so great that if something were thrown up at them at a speed of 300,000 km/s, speed of light, it could not escape. Seen according to this, nothing can travel faster than light, therefore, everything that is attracted by a black hole cannot come out of it. They represent the last step in the evolution of a star that is about a dozen times the mass of our Sun. When star runs out of fuel, it will explode in form of supernova. Extremely dense objects are called neutron star forms. If the neutron star is too large, it will collapse under the influence of large gravitational forces and will continue to shrink, resulting in a scientific truth, mentioned in the Quran. Using NASA's Spitzer Space Telescope, a group of astronomers have concluded that planetary systems, disks of asteroids, comets, and possible planets, are usually abundant in binary systems compared to those with only one star, such as ours. Since more than half of all stars are double, i.e., binary, the results suggest that the universe is filled with planets that have 2 stars. The sunsets of some of these worlds may resemble those of Luke Skywalker's planet, Tatooine from Star Wars, where 2 glowing balls sink beneath the horizon, one after the other. The new results will help astronomers further understand the potential distribution of planets in the universe. David Trilling of the University of Arizona in the United States claims, there seems to be no prejudice against the formation of planetary systems in binary systems, and there can be countless planets with 2 or more suns. Astronomers know that planets could form in extremely wide binary systems, in which stars are 1,000 times farther apart from the Earth and the Sun, or in 1,000 astronomical units. From more than hundreds of planets discovered so far outside our solar system, about 50 orbits around one member of a wide star pair. A new study with the Spitzer Space Telescope focuses on binary stars with distances between 0 and 500 astronomical units. Until now, it was not known whether the proximity of the stars affected the formation of the planets. Standard planet-finding techniques could not normally be applied to these stars. But in 2005, Polish astronomer Maciej Konacki from the California Institute of Technology found evidence for a candidate planet in a multi-star system. His colleagues used Spitzer's infrared eyes to detect dust disks in dual-star systems. The so-called garbage disks are made up of asteroid rock debris that has never been able to merge into rocky planets. Their presence indicates that there was a process of creating planets around a star or stars, which could eventually result in fully mature planets. In the most detailed analysis of its kind, the team looked for disks in 69 binary systems that are between 50 and 200 light-years from Earth. All stars are slightly younger and more massive than our middle-aged Sunday. The data show that 40% of the systems have disks around them, which is slightly higher than the frequency in a comparable sample of single stars. This means that planetary systems are almost more present around binary stars than they are around individual stars. Astronomers were also shocked to see that the disks were even more common, about 60%, around the compact binary stars observed in the analysis. In such systems, the stars are at a distance of between 0 and 3 astronomical units. Spitzer also discovered disks orbiting the two members of the star pair, not just one of the members. If very close star systems like these have planets, they will have sunsets like Tatooine. We are surprised to find that a compact band has more disks, says Trilling. This means that the formation of planets is more likely around compact binary stars than around individual stars. But it could also mean that compact binary stars only have more dust around them. Future observations will provide a better answer. In another case, the very evocation in Surah 43, verse 38, distance between two easts, is an image that expresses the infinity of the distance between 2 points. The observer of the rising and setting of the sun knows well that the sun rises at different points in the east and sets at different points in the west, according to the seasons. The markings taken on each horizon determine the endpoints marking both the easts and the 2 wests, which they are located between the points during the year. Special attention should be paid to the other topics discussed in this chapter where the description of astronomical phenomena in the Quran proves to be appropriate to modern concepts. 3.10.2 Heavenly Jewelry. We really beautify the nearest sky to you with planetary jewelry. Es Safat, 37, 6. The planets are not bright by themselves. They revolve around the sun. Our Earth also belongs to them, but even if we assume that they exist elsewhere, only those in the solar system are best known to us. 5 planets, apart from Earth, have been known since ancient times: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn. 3 have been discovered. In modern times, Uranus, Neptune and Pluto. It seems that the Quran refers to them as Kavkab, plural, Kavkab, without specifying their number. Joseph's Son, chapter 12, mentions 11, but by definition it is another imaginary story. It seems that a good definition of the meaning of this word in the Quran is given in a very glorious verse, the deep meaning of which is shown to be quite spiritual, and it has, in fact, been discussed by many exegetes. He is very interesting in every way because of the comparison that has been made about the word, which seems to mean a planet. The text we are interested in is the following and has already been mentioned in another context. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. An example of His light is the niche where the lamp is located, the lamp is in the glass. And the glass is like a shining star that shines, An-Nur, 2400 hours 35. This, indeed, is the projection of light onto a body that reflects it, glass, giving it incandescent light, similar to the planets illuminated by the sun. This is the only explicit detail of that word that can be found in the Quran. The word is also mentioned in other verses. In some it is not possible to determine which celestial bodies are in question, chapter 6, quotation 76, chapter 82, quotation 1-2. But, indeed, it seems that, in the light of modern knowledge, in one verse it may be the celestial bodies we know as planets. In chapter 37, quote 6 we really read, "We indeed beautify the nearest heaven to you with the jewels of the planet, as Safat, 37, 6. Could the Quranic term nearest heaven denote the solar system? It is known that among the celestial elements closest to us, there are no permanent elements other than the planets. The sun is the only star in the system that bears his name. We do not see any other celestial bodies here except the planets." The given translation seems to be correct and the Quran alludes to the existence of planets according to the modern definition of events. We adorned the nearest heaven with glowing lamps and made them a fire, flame, for the shooting of the devils, for whom we prepared suffering in the fire. Al-Mulk, 67, 5. Ibn Kasir, interpreting this quote, says that it refers to standing stars and those that move, and they are all located in the nearest sky. The word, "we made them," refers to the stars of the lamps as a kind, not to them individually, because Allah does not strike the devils with the stars in the sky, but with a flame from something else, and it may be a flame that originates from the stars themselves. And Allah knows best. The Quran repeatedly mentions the nearest heaven and the celestial bodies that make it up, among which, it seems, the planets come first, as we have seen. But when he connects purely spiritual considerations with the material notions available to our understanding, since we are enlightened by modern science, the meaning becomes quite obscure. Thus, the last quoted quote could be easily understood, but when the next verse 7 of the same Surah 37 speaks of protection from every evil devil, protection which is evoked in chapter 21, quotation 32, and chapter 41, quote 12 based on Ibn Abbas' tafsir at verse 21-33 and other evidence. Long before Europe thought anything other than that the earth was a flat plate, Muslim scholars used globes to study the earth's relief at Islamic universities, which were the first such institutions in the world. I am pretty convinced that during the time of the Messenger of Allah, none of the people knew anything about the round shape of the earth, nor was it part of anyone's knowledge. In that period the Quran is revealed and the Quranic verse. And we spread the earth. Al-Hijr, 19, Qaf, 7. We must emphasize the precision and perfection of this Quranic expression. The only appropriate expression for the time in which it was published and for all subsequent centuries is used, we spread it, with the expression. We spread the earth says that the earth is wide, which was not a problem, because at that time people could see with their own eyes the truth of that verse. Later, when it was established that the earth is round, we see that it was the only expression that fully corresponds to the description of the earth. After that, let's look at this Quranic verse. He covers the night with the day, and covers the day with the night. Makes the night phase into the day and makes the day phase into the night, Az-Zumar, 7. Why does the Almighty Allah use the word phase, cover? The Quranic expression originates from Allah and that is why the word yukawir, it covers, is incredibly precise and infallible. But why is it said it covers, envelopes, and spread night and day, which would fit the description better if the earth was flat, or changed day and night, or in any other word? If you bring something and wrap it around a round object you will say, I wrapped the fabric, for example. In a ball, i.e. I got a round shape by wrapping a ball. If you want someone to do something round you will say, take this and round it up, i.e., make a ball out of it. The direct meaning of the words of Almighty Allah, He covers the night with the day, and covers the day with the night, is that He made them envelop the earth. It seems that, wraps, is the best way to translate the Arabic word, kawara, as in the translation of our blasher. The original meaning of this verb is to spirally fold the turban around the head. In all other meanings the notion of wrapping is preserved. The Quran indicates that night and day encompass the earth at all times. Allah, the Exalted, did not say, He covers the earth with the night and then covers it with the day. The words, He covers the night with the day, and covers the day with the night, using the preposition Allah of the verb kevra, deserve more attention, so that we can get an additional overview in the field of perfection of the Quran. He covers the night. The meaning of this verse is that they are at the same time and together around the earth, and the Quran pointed out this 14 centuries ago, while human science managed to reach only the last period of history. The question of the round shape of the earth is mentioned in the Quran elsewhere. Why? Because it is a great natural truth. Elsewhere, supporting the claim that the earth is spherical, we can find the following. Do they not see that we are narrowing the earth for them, reducing their boundaries? Ar-Rad, 1341. An alternative translation of this would be, do they not see that we are indeed leading to shorten the earth? All these Quranic expressions are a sufficient indication of the powerful Quranic truths that modern science confirms. 4.4.1 Flatness of the earth. Do they not see that we are narrowing the earth for them, reducing their frontiers? And Allah judges. No one can overturn His judgment. And He settles the accounts quickly. Ar-Rad, 1341. We found the following translation in Mustafa Mlivo Bosnian translation of the Quran. Do they not see that we are coming to earth, narrowing its ends? For several hundred years, there has been a generally accepted fact that the world is round. Most people thought it was a sphere and something like a solid ball. In fact, the earth is almost, but not completely spherical. It has a slight protrusion at the equator. Measured at sea level, the Earth's diameter at the equator is 12,756 kilometers. The distance from the North to the South Pole is also measured at sea level is 12,713 kilometers. When comparing these two diameters, the difference seems small, only 42.7 kilometers. But compared to the height of the Earth's surface, it is large. For example, the largest Himalayan mountain, Mount Everest, is about 9 kilometers above sea level. The shape of the Earth was originally calculated by measuring kilometer by kilometer across continents. Today, artificial satellites have much more accurate and complete measuring instruments. Mathematicians carefully measure the orbits of artificial satellites and then calculate the gravitational force with which the Earth acts on the satellites. From these calculations they get the shape of the Earth. 4.5 time zones. The example of the life of this world, which has enamored you into becoming heedless to our signs, is that of water that we sent down from the heaven, which causes the vegetation of the earth, which sustains men and cattle, to grow luxuriantly. But when the earth took on its golden raiment and became well adorned and the owners believed that they had full control over their lands, our command came upon them by night or by day, and we convened it into a stubble, as though it had not blossomed yesterday. Thus do we expound the signs for a people who reflect. Yunus, 10:24. The reason why Almighty Allah says, by night or by day, is that if at that moment an event happened during that time during the day in America, then it would be night in Australia and vice versa. Judgment Day takes place all over the country, whether it is night or day. There is a scientific fact here, and that is that the earth rotates around us, and we have day and night. Looking back 14 centuries, people probably do not know much about time zones, so the Quranic narration on this subject is a big surprise. The concept that one family eats breakfast at sunrise and the other enjoys the fresh night air is something we should be proud of even in modern times. Of course, 14 centuries ago man could not travel more than 30 miles a day, so it literally took him months to travel from India to Morocco. Probably, if this man had dinner in Morocco, he would have thought to himself that his people in India also have dinner. This is why he would not understand his journey through different time zones. We see that the Quran perceives and points out such a phenomenon. This quote 10:24 states that when history comes to an end and Judgment Day comes, it will happen at some point, and that moment will find some people at night and some during the day. This clearly illustrates Allah's divine wisdom and his prior knowledge of the existence of time zones, as such a revelation was inconsistent with time 14 centuries ago. Of course, this phenomenon is not something that is easily noticeable, and this fact is sufficient proof of the authenticity of the Quran. 4.5.1 Shift of Day and Night. In an age when the earth was considered to be the center of the world and the sun was moving relative to it, what human being would not put the movement of the sun in relation to the change of day and night? But such evocation does not occur in the Quran, which treats this subject as follows. And a sign to them is the night, we draw forth from it the day, then lo, they are in the dark. Yasin, 36:37. Seest thou not that Allah merges night into day and he merges day into night, that he has subjected the sun, and the moon, to his law, each running its course for a term appointed, and that Allah is well acquainted with all that ye do? Luqman, 31:29. He wraps the night with the day, and wraps the day with the night. Zumar, 39:5. These verses can be interesting when it comes to indulgence, and especially wrapping day and night, chapter 39, quote 5. But what is actually happening in space? As American cosmonauts have seen and photographed it well from their spacecraft, especially at great distances from the Earth, from the Moon for example, the Sun constantly, except during eclipses, illuminates the Earth's hemisphere, while the other half remains in darkness. Because the Earth revolves around itself while the illumination remains motionless, a hemispherical illuminated zone revolves around the Earth in 24 hours, while the hemisphere that remains in darkness performs the same rotation at the same time. This constant circumnavigation of day and night is perfectly described in the Quran. It is easily accessible to human understanding in our day, since we have the idea of the relative immobility of the sun and the rotation of the Earth. This process of constant wrapping with the continuous indentation of one sector into another is expressed in the Quran as if it were conceived in an era when man was aware of the roundness of the earth, which is obviously not the case. 4.5.4 The Blush in the Evening. And I swear by the blush in the evening, Al-Inshikak, 84:16. What is the reason for the rosy color of twilight? The interpretation is as follows. At the low position of the sun, at its setting, the sun's rays travel a long way through the atmosphere. The rays with the shortest wavelengths are the weakest on that path. The only ones that can overcome all these obstacles are the longer wavelengths, and that is the red ones, so we see them scattered in the rays like golden yellow, orange and red skies on the east or west side of the horizon. From this, both the sun and the moon get the reddish color. Especially beautiful colors of sunset are observed when there are very 0.1 layers of the earth. Allah is the one who created 7 heavens in layers, and likewise for the earth. The divine command descends between them so you may know that Allah is most capable of everything and that Allah certainly encompasses all things in His knowledge. At Talaq, 65:12, Ahmed noticed from Abu Huraira R.A. that the Messenger of Allah, said, "Whoever illegally takes an inch of land will be attached to his next 7 layers of land." There are many such hadiths. Ibn Kasir, the traditional interpreter of the Quran, says, "It is meant by this that each of these earth's layers is above the first and is larger than the previous one, and so on until the 7th earth, which is hard and has no cracks, outer layer. In the bowels of those countries is the middle part where there are heavy elements, where they flow from all sides, if they do not have some obstacles. There is a difference whether these lands are merged or there is some empty space between each of them. This divergence occurs because of the spheres. It is reported on the authority of Al-Abbas, R.A., that Allah's Messenger said, "If I give you the commentary of this verse, you will turn disbelievers, and your disbelief will be that you will deny it." Ibn Abbas said, "What can be the guarantee that if I tell you its meaning, you would not turn disbelievers?" Lbn Jarir, Abd bin Humayd. However, Ibn Jarir, Ibn Abi Hatim, Hakim and Bayhaqi in Shu'ab al-Iman and Kitab al-Asma was Sifat have cited, on the authority of Abid Doha, this commentary from Ibn Abbas in different words. In each of those earths there is a prophet like your prophet, an Adam like your Adam, a Noah like your Noah, an Abraham like your Abraham, and a Jesus like your Jesus. It means that in every earth there is a creation which turns to its origin. Just as mankind in our earth turns to Adam, peace be upon him. In every earth, there are individuals, who are distinguished among others just as the prophets Noah and Abraham, peace be upon them, are distinguished among us. Science today completely proves the existence of layers under the earth, and from the previous hadith it can be clearly seen that the Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, indicates that the 7th earth below us is the most dangerous, that is, who will be there is among the doomed victims. It is scientifically known today that the Earth's core is made up of heavy metals and enormous pressure and heat that surely no human can withstand. The Quran here, in addition to the Earth's layers, indicates the existence of other Earth-like planets, which we have already said is the claim of the traditionalist Ibn Kasir, and this is confirmed by recent discoveries. One discovery that has astonished European astronomers is the discovery of one of the smallest planets to date outside the solar system. It is a planet 14 times the mass of Earth, but orbits a star that is very similar to the Sun. This may be a rocky planet with a very small atmosphere, something like a super-Earth, but there are differences. The newly discovered planet orbits its own star in just under 10 days, and due to the proximity of the orbit to the star, the planet's temperature is assumed to be around 627 degrees Celsius. However, this discovery is very important for science because no such small planet has been discovered so far. All the planets discovered so far are gas giants the size of Jupiter or several times larger. The planet orbits a star 50 light-years from Earth and is located in the constellation Altair, which can only be seen from the southern hemisphere, and it remains one of the 88 modern constellations defined by the International Astronomical Union. Around this star orbit 2 more planets that have also been discovered recently. One is the size of Jupiter and orbits the star in 650 days, and the other is even further away, but its orbit has not yet been precisely defined. Earth as a planet may not be unique in space after all. So far, more than 100 orbiting planets have been discovered around some other stars. Over the past decade, the discoveries of these extrasolar planets have encouraged scientists to start thinking about planets with living conditions. New research shows that the solar system is quite unusual compared to other stellar systems. So far, 123 extrasolar planets have been discovered, and they are up to 10 times more massive than Jupiter. Our Earth is a really rare pearl in space or just a grain of sand in the desert. 4.9 Function of the mountains. He created the heavens without pillars, as you can see, and placed firm mountains upon the earth so it does not shake with you, and scattered throughout it all types of creatures. And we send down rain from the sky, causing every type of fine plant to grow on earth. Luckman, 31:10. The function of the mountains, given in the Quran is, to protect the earth from its oscillation. Nowhere in the Quran is it mentioned that the mountains protect the earth from tectonic movements, earthquake. Many Orientalists consider this a mistake in the Quran, that if the mountains protect the earth from its shaking, how does an earthquake occur? The Arabic word for earthquake is zilzal, and the word used in the Quran is tamida, i.e. to sway or to swing. The Quran speaks more accurately in the chapter earthquake, but in this verse it is not about an earthquake, but about swaying. After this it is more than clear that no book can be completely translated from one language to another. It is even more difficult to translate the Quran into any other language. But that is why Islamic scholars give the best possible explanations for people endowed with reason. And the earth we have spread out, and have placed therein firm mountains, and caused to grow therein all kinds of things in due proportion. Hijr, 15:19. He has placed into the earth firm mountains, so it does not shake with you, as well as rivers, and pathways so you may find your way. An-Nahl, 16:15. The Almighty says that He spread out, leveled, stretched, the earth both long and wide, solidifying it with high mountains. He caused rivers to flow through the earth to feed various fruits in taste, color, and smell. 4.9.1 Mountains Natural Stabilizers. In chapter 78, verses numbers 6 and 7, the Quran reads, "Have we not made the earth as a bed, and the mountains as pegs, pillars?" The Quran does not say that we add additional pillars, but only pillars. Pegs. To clarify a little more about what exactly is meant in the Quran, geologists today tell us that the earth has a radius of 6,378 kilometers and that the deep part of the earth is hard and no living system can develop there, but the surface part of the earth is much thinner and is a huge 1.5 to 50 kilometers area. There is a possibility that the earth would shake if there were no mountains to stabilize it, and most of the mountains are deep in the ground, as a foundation, a pillar, and only a small part comes to the surface. Like the ice shelves, a small part looks at the surface, but 90% is underneath water. The emphasis of the Quran, and the mountains as pillars, explains exactly what geologists are telling us today, that mountains are pillars of the earth. The Quran also speaks about this phenomenon in Surah An-Nazi'at 79, verse 32, Allah says, interpretation of the meaning. And He strengthened the mountains. Surah Al-Ghashiyah 88, verse 19, and the mountains, how they were firmly set up. In another verse, see you not that Allah sends down water, rain, from the sky, and we produce therewith fruits of various colors, and among the mountains are streaks white and red, of varying colors, and others, very black. The Quran describes mountains as being composed of white and red tracts of various shades of colors and of others that are black and intense in hue. This is probably referring to both continental mountains, which are dominantly granitic in composition, with overwhelming white and red colors of various shades, and oceanic mountains that are dominantly composed of black-colored, basic and ultrabasic rocks. Each of these mountain types has got its specific rock, chemical and mineralogical, composition, as well as its specific origin. 4.10.1 Ozone layer. Until, when he came to the rising place of the sun, he found it rising on a people for whom we, Allah, had provided no shield against the Sunday. El-Kef, 18 hours 90 minutes. We find also in 21:32. And we made the sky a protected ceiling, but they, from its signs, are turning away. Here Allah is telling us that He had made the earth protected through a ceiling that is ozone layer. And in Quran 52:4-6. And the roof exalted. In another verse Quran describes it as a roof of protection for inhabitants of earth. And the roof fell down on them from above, and the wrath seized them from directions they did not perceive. Quran 16:26. This verses also describes the ability of the sky, earth's atmosphere, to return all useful forms of matter and energy to Earth, and to bring back or neutralize all life-threatening substances and energies coming from space. The Earth's sky returns water vapor in the form of rain, otherwise the oceans would dry up, heat waves emitted by the Earth, electromagnetic waves, radio and TV, various types of particles, and so on. On the other hand, back in space the protective ozone layer with the reflection of radiation and harmful ultraviolet radiation coming from space. The ionosphere resembles a satellite that, by repelling radio waves emitted from Earth, provides long-distance calls via cell phones, radio, and television. The magnetosphere returns to space the radiation that the Sun and other stars emit before they reach the Earth's surface. All this is proof of the supernaturalness of the Quran. The following conclusions can be drawn from the quoted verse. 1. The word shield indicates that something harmful is coming from the Sun, because without that damage there would be no need for a shield. The roof is above, i.e., ozone layer is physical protection from above, in this case protection from rain, wind and burning sun rays, UV, all coming from above. 2. In the past, other translations of the verse were used in the translations, and instead of shield, the terms mountains and hills were used, although they do not protect us from anything, except when we would live, for example, in caves and underground tunnels. 3. The quote tells us that these people are something special from others and that is why they are excluded, at the same time they do not have a shield, while the rest of the world has it. 4. The word, we did not make them a shield from a sun, shows that the shield is the work of God, not man. This automatically negates misconceptions about something man has created, such as houses and the like. 5. The verse indicates the presence of people in that place and that place is not protected. This is in line with today's knowledge about ozone depletion holes. It was generally assumed that these holes had always existed. The science is taking a dramatic turn after it was discovered that these holes are enlarging as a result of human damage to the planet. 4.10.2 Protected outer layer of the Earth. And we have sought to reach the heaven but found it filled with powerful guards and burning flames. Al-Jinn, 72:8. Scientists have discovered something new in the Earth's atmosphere that they describe as a plasma shell. It occurs because of the Earth's magnetosphere, which is necessary and crucial for protecting the planet from solar winds and radiation. The only way to see the magnetosphere is the aurora borealis phenomenon, aurora borealis and aurora australis. While most people do not think about the magnetosphere at all, it can affect our lives. Although invisible, the magnetosphere has an impact on our lives on a daily basis, said Rick Chappell, a professor of physics at Vanderbilt University. For example, solar storms act on the magnetosphere in such a way that it can cause a load on the Earth's electrical systems and networks, which can lead to the failure and collapse of entire electrical networks, which can then interfere with radio transmissions and disruption of GPS signals. Electrified particles in the magnetosphere can also damage satellite electronics and cause changes in temperature and dynamics in the upper atmosphere. The new region was discovered after Chappell and researchers discovered a phenomenon they called a natural energy cycle that accelerates low-energy ions in the Earth's atmosphere, transmitting them to higher energy levels in the magnetosphere. According to researchers, the warm plasma extends from the night side of the planet and wraps itself up to the day side. As the sun enters the daily side, it weakens and disappears. Due to this fact, the plasma envelopes about 3/4 of the Earth. The mantle of plasma feeds on low-energy particles that rise and fall into space from Earth's poles, then curve guided by the force lines of the magnetosphere by 180 degrees, and bounce back to the Earth's polar regions. A key part of the analysis that led to this discovery was a program developed by French researcher Dominique Delcourt. He developed software that predicts where particles in the atmosphere go. One of the predictions made with the help of the software is how the ions move and then how they end up as a plasma shell. These movements are quite complicated. The ions twist, and bounce. A lot of things happen, but Dominique's mathematical code allows us to predict where they go and where they end up. Chappell and his colleagues observed satellites to measure the properties of ions at different locations in the magnetosphere. When these observations were entered into Delcourt's computer code, a warm plasma sheath was discovered. The above verse associates that witnesses of the outer Earth layer which is protected by a barrier can see burning flames from above the Earth. It's a fabulous sight. 4.10.3 Oxygen leakage into space. The sky will be split open, becoming many gates, and Naba, 78:19. The oxygen that is part of our atmosphere is constantly leaking into space. According to satellite measurements in the 1980s and 1990s, ions, charged particles, that were escaping moved faster and faster over time. This indicates that some acceleration mechanism is involved in the process. According to the latest results, obtained from a group of satellites working in a group called cluster, it shows that the Earth's magnetic field accelerates the ions of oxygen in the direction of space. But do not worry. Compared to the amount of oxygen in our atmosphere, the amount of oxygen that is detected as running away from us is negligible. But in the future, when the sun starts to heat up, the balance may be disturbed and the amount of oxygen may become significant. A team of scientists from the Swedish Institute of Astrophysics processed data collected by Sentinel satellite and found that oxygen ions were accelerated due to changes in the magnetic field. The fact that Sentinel is a group of satellites is crucial for the analysis because it gives scientists the opportunity to measure the strength and direction of the field over a wide area. In the past, before the development of the space age, scientists thought that only particles from the solar wind were present in the magnetic field. Today we know that the charged particles from the solar wind follow the lines of the field, and when they come in contact with the atmosphere, the beautiful aurora borealis, the aurora, occurs. This happens at and near the poles. In a similar way, oxygen ions with sufficient energy are accelerated out of the atmosphere. The flock of satellites collect the necessary information over the poles at altitudes of 30,000 to 64,000 kilometers. This research can help scientists understand what might happen in the future. This indicates the possible opening of the sky and the leakage of oxygen out of the Earth, which would make all life on Earth disappear and impossible, as indicated by recent studies. 4.12 Water wealth. From it, he brought out its water and its meadows, all as a means of sustenance for you and your animals. Annonciat, 79, 31, 33. This enumeration of God's earthly virtues to mankind, expressed in the language of the peasants and nomads of the Arabian Peninsula, preceded by a call to study the creation of heaven. Most of these verses emphasize the importance of water and the practical consequence of its presence on earth, soil fertility. Indeed, in the desert, water is the number one element that determines human survival. But the suggestion in the Quran goes beyond this geographical feature. The character of the planet rich. The star's core is no longer composed of plasma, although stars are generally defined as objects composed of plasma. White dwarfs are likely to turn into black dwarfs over a long period of time. In large stars, nuclear fusion continues until the iron nucleus grows, more than 1.4 solar masses, so much that it will not be able to withstand its own mass. The nucleus will suddenly collapse and its electrons will turn into protons, forming neutrons that scatter. The strong wave formed by this sudden collapse causes the rest of the star to explode like a supernova. Supernovae are so bright that they can overshadow the galaxy in which they are located. In the Milky Way, supernovae are observed as new stars. How long a star will live depends on the amount of hydrogen it uses to make helium nuclear fusion. In other words, it depends on its size and volume. The Sun is estimated to live for about 1,010 years. Larger stars consume hydrogen very quickly and live shorter. Small stars, called red dwarfs, consume their fuel very slowly and live for 10 to 100 billion years. Eventually, they become brighter and shinier. The lifespan of these stars is thought to be the same as that of the universe, 13.7 billion years. It is very important that what is said here, the stars will collapse, not when the Sun will collapse, and 8:1:6, when the seas boil over, so the Sun could become red giant, and God knows best. 7. End of the world. 7.10 Collapse of the Sun. When the Sun Kuwarat, wound round and lost its light and is overthrown. At Takwir, 81:1. The occurrence of the Sun is represented by the word Kuwire and means its increase in volume, as a ball increases with winding, and as a consequence it starts to glow. In the distant future, the Sun will thicken, turn into a red giant, and destroy everything on Earth. That fact has been known to scientists for decades. But the details of that later evolution are only being worked out in retrospect. According to those results, the Earth may still survive that event, but on the verge of survival. Scientists Sackman and Kramer and others have completely developed models of the evolution of the Sun, whose two important parameters are brightness and diameter. The Sun began its existence about 4.5 billion years ago with only 70% of today's brightness. In the next 1.1 billion years, the glow will increase in size by another 10% of today. That increase in brightness and those changes with the emission of energy will be enough for catastrophic consequences for the Earth. In 6.5 billion years, the Sun will shine 2.2 times brighter than it is today and then begin to leave the main array in the direction of the red giants. In the next 1.3 billion years, the volume of the Sun will increase by a staggering 170 times compared to today, and Mercury will no longer exist. The Sun will then converge and remain stable for the next 120 million years. Then comes the last spectacular event where the Sun will rise to 1 astronomical unit, and that is today's orbit of the Earth at 150 million kilometers. This is followed by a loss of mass of the star. This will reduce the forces with which the Sun acts on the planets. At the moment when the Sun will reach its maximum, which is when it will be 5,200 times higher than today, the temperature of the Earth will be around 1,300 degrees. That is enough to destroy any trace of human existence on Earth. In the next few million years, the Sun will cast off its outer layer and begin to shrink rapidly into a white dwarf, 55% of today's mass. In this state, the Sun as a white dwarf can last for tens of billions of years. At that time, the lifeless planets around it will orbit new paths with temperatures close to absolute zero. The fate described is not so bleak given that the first catastrophic event will occur 1.1 billion years from now, which is about 10,000 times longer than the existence of the human race. For decades, astronomers have been convinced that they know the fate of the planet Earth in the distant future. They said the Sun would consume its nuclear fuel for the next 7.5 billion years, turn into a giant red giant, and devour the inner planets. The Earth, as they assumed, would experience its last days totally burned from within, in the aging Sun. New research by some British astrophysicists suggests that our world could avoid this prediction, at least for a while. Star evolution models show that our Sun will increase its brightness by about 10% every billion years. At this point, the Sun is enjoying its most stable episode of its evolution, being in the main sequence in the XR diagram. This relatively quiet period is marked by the transformation of hydrogen into helium in the core, where a temperature of 15 million degrees Celsius develops. From beginning to end, the life of the Sun in the main sequence will last about 10 billion years. After this, it will go through a number of energy crises, culminating in the expansion of its outer atmosphere into interplanetary space, where it will cool and turn red. Models predict that the red giant, the Sun, will expand as it passes through Earth's orbit. But now a team of scientists from Britain has pointed to a detail that has been neglected so far: the loss of mass carried away by the solar wind and its consequence on planetary evolution. Although today's Sun and other middle-aged stars experience a slight loss of mass, the loss increases rapidly as the star leaves the main sequence. The problem was not solved until recently. It was impossible to comprehend what effect even the most modest amount of mass lost from a star in the orbits of the planets would have. The team from Britain calculated that as the Sun approached its death, it would go through a significant loss of mass. This will weaken the Sun's gravitational field, causing the orbits of the inner planets to change over a huge period of time. Researchers suggest that this modification could allow life to exist for another 5.7 billion years, which is 200 million years later than previously expected. Seen in the distant future, this is not salvation for the Earth. It will still be destroyed. 7.11 When reality is distorted. And the mountains shall be moved away from their places, and they will be as if they were a mirage. Heaven, 78:20. Apart from this dimension known to us, it has been mathematically established that there are several dimensions. Every object in this world has its own width, length and height, which is a three-dimensional representation. The concept that there are more dimensions than the known three dimensions is practically unthinkable. Near the Sun, gravity is more intense, which makes the curvature of space in a higher dimension more present. The only possible way to leave this three-dimensional world in a way known to our world is by splitting this space around us, which is theoretically possible by creating an artificial black hole, which would maximally distort the space around us and change the view. That is, the gaze would be overshadowed by a sight hitherto unknown and incomprehensible to us, so it would result in an illusion and loss of sense of time, movement, space and matter. 7.12 Changes on Earth magnetic field. When the mountains vanish, at Takwar, 81, 3. And when the heaven is stripped off and taken away from its place, at Takwar, 81:11. The reason for the changes in the Earth's protective magnetic field is below the Earth's surface. These fluctuations in the field can leave satellites and other space equipment unprotected by the high-energy radiation to which they are exposed. Smaller, sudden monthly fluctuations in the magnetic field would play a much larger role, as opposed to the gradual attenuation of the Earth's entire magnetic field over hundreds, even thousands, of years. The newly developed scientific model, which uses data collected from satellites over the past 9 years, shows how the unexpected movements of fluids inside the Earth's crust can change the magnetic sheath around our planet. This is the first time scientists have observed rapid changes in the magnetic field of this kind that take place in just a few months. More specifically, we are talking about changes in the South Atlantic Ocean, an area where the magnetic field has the lowest strength, about 1/3 of normal. Even before the newly discovered changes, this area in the South Atlantic was known as a weak point in our magnetic field, or as it is called a recess in the Earth's protective shell. Bubble membrane. The Earth's magnetic field stretches for about 58,000 kilometers in space. It is the result of the rotating effect of the Earth's electrically conductive core, which acts as a giant electromagnet. This field forms a drop-shaped bubble that protects life on Earth from most of the high-energy radiation coming from the Sun. The last major change in the field occurred about 780,000 years ago, during magnetic diversion. However, such diversions are believed to occur much more frequently on average. Magnetic reorientation is the change of the north to the south magnetic pole and vice versa, which is preceded by a reduction of the field and rapid recovery and reorganization of the opposite pole. Electric storms. Radiation storms coming from the Sun can easily damage the electronic equipment of suddenly unprotected satellites. Their connections would be destroyed by the possible impact of magnetic storms and high-energy particles from the Sun. The constant radiation bombardment, together with the solar wind, blows towards the Earth where it moves opposite to and around the magnetic field.